Hey YouTube, it's been a while, long time no see. I wanted to make a video to get myself back into the habit of making videos and making things more broadly. I've been saying on Twitter recently that I've been in a bit of a rut, and that rut is it's easing slightly, but I think it needs a little bit more help just in terms of making stuff and not caring too much about quality or what it's about, or just making stuff and seeing what comes from there. And I think I wanted to reflect on what's happened, just how much has happened since I started doing all this stuff online. So it's been a long time since I made videos, but even before then, my life was changing hugely. And I almost don't recognize myself. And I wanted to kind of reflect on that because it's been a wild ride and it's just getting more and more wild at this point. The context for this is that I'm going to Bali on Thursday next week, so a few days from now, and I'll be there for at least 2 months, hopefully more, maybe for like 4 months. And at this point, that just kind of feels like, cool, I'm going to Bali. But then I hear myself say that as if I'm the me from a year and a half ago, and it doesn't register. That doesn't make any sense at all to me. So like 15 months ago, I quit my job. I was working for KPMG in London, doing regulatory economics, energy system advisory stuff, innovation stuff, which I liked doing. That was my career for 10 years. And I lived in London for 15 years that did that thing. And since then, I have done some ridiculous things, which don't quite register for me yet. And I think that's part of the rut almost, is that I'm that my self image is still kind of back there a little bit, or I look at my own story and it doesn't really land fully as my own story. I'm doing a workshop with Radreads, the KHE, um, kind of about my system now, but also some like live discussion and coaching and stuff from Kay. Doing that next week, and I saw the landing page the team put together describing like who I am. But I'm doing like, that doesn't sound like me. Like, it's a long list of facts that are true, but the positioning and the story, it's one of those things that sounds like I always read happening to someone else and doesn't quite land as me. So I guess high level, built an Alexander Technique course, built an online following on Twitter and building something here on YouTube. Quit my job, left London to go do at least a year, hopefully, of nomad travel with my partner. Amazing. Um, Financially successful, I guess you could say. Like, it feels weird to acknowledge this stuff, but the AT course has now made about $180,000. In I mean, it's been around for almost 2 years, but the first 6 months of that was kind of testing. So let's say 18 months of AT course existing and kind of making money. So we're pushing $200,000 soon, next couple of months, and almost 1,000 students, and that is wild to me. That is way beyond anything I could have dreamed of, conceived of, imagined. Just unbelievable. And all of this stuff that I've just said kind of feels like it's describing someone else, like I was saying with the landing page for Kay's event. And I'm wondering what that's about. Why does it not feel real? I, I don't know the answer to that. I'm just exploring right now. Um, but I think there's something about hedonic adaptation almost. So it's simultaneously kind of the normal and it's also unreal at the same time. There's this weird synthesis of two things that don't go together. So it's simultaneously unbelievable, unreal, crazy, far out there, wild, and it's kind of day to day, just how I live now. I don't want to use the word tedious, but just humdrum, I guess, is the kind of thing I'm aiming at. Just like, do day to day thing, and I guess I've become used to it very quickly. I've become used to a kind of sanitized version of the narrative, or if not sanitized, but somehow monochrome version of the narrative. So it's, yes, this is how I live now. Obviously, I wake up in the morning and I'm not in London. I don't work for KPMG, and I do online stuff. That's all true and obvious, but it hasn't really entirely sunk in. I don't have the vividness of the holy crap, I'm actually doing this thing at the same time. And I wonder if the rut that I've been experiencing is kind of is the non-overlap of those two things. The not owning my new story while also existing in it day to day. It's like I haven't stepped into the new role fully, almost. I say role as in it's like a job, but the new identity, perhaps, better way of saying it, the new way of being. It's almost like I'm still slightly in my old, well, I need to, get out of my job. I need to do something else. I need to build something, not realizing that I have done all those things. And then the next steps are, who knows? Which actually partly leads on to something else that is going on, which is a kind of an absence of clear vision that's been going on in my life, part of the rut situation. It's turning into a rut update. So rut update 2, why not? When you have a job, when I had a job, it's easy to take your employer's mission job. Oh, I have disembodied hand again. I shouldn't do that. Hey, I have arms. It's easy to take your employer's mission, your job description, all of those things, and take that to be your purpose. And in many cases, that's fine. One of my early jobs, I worked for a company called the Carbon Trust here I'm actually in France, in London, which does low carbon energy consulting, low carbon innovation, policy, that kind of thing. And their mission was to accelerate the move to a sustainable low carbon economy. And I liked that. So when I was 22 when I joined, 23, and I left at 27, that kind of felt right for me. That was my mission as well. I was happy to just take on their mission wholesale for myself. And then, if anyone asks you who I am, what do I do? It's like, I would just repeat or at least think about the company's mission and think, I'm helping them with that. I'm doing that. And that fitted. And then the more I deviated from companies that had missions that really spoke to me, either because I was moving away from such mission-driven or purpose-led, or whatever you call it, organizations. So I went corporate and then big consultancy, or because my own sense of what I wanted was deviating, or it was less clear, or it was less simple or easily articulated of what I wanted. So I moved on to a company called National Grid, which is power systems in the UK. Awesome company, I really enjoyed working there. And then KPMG, which is accounting, audit, all that stuff. And the more you go in that direction, the more that the mission is delivering for clients and, generic stuff like that, which didn't really speak to me. But even then, you have a thing. You go into work, you show up, you have your projects, people are doing things around you that in a certain direction, and then you kind of just do that. And if there's a mishmash, is that the right term? If there's a conflict essentially between what you want and what the company wants, that will be painful. Like, they want this, I don't feel like I want that, I want this. Okay, that's the tension that you have to deal with. And for a long time before I quit my job, that was a thing I felt every day of, like, I don't want the direction they're going in. I don't know where I want to go, but it doesn't feel like it's that way. But even still, you have the thing that you show up and you do. But since I've quit all that entire frame, I don't really have that guiding sense of purpose or vision. To begin with, it was survival. It was, can I survive doing this? Can I make enough money? Can I not go mad from just being on my own the whole time? Is there a social scene I can join? Can I still talk about what I do at parties? All that kind of, like, what is it like to exist outside of what Paul Millerd calls the path. So now on the Pathless Path. Great book to read, by the way. His book, The Pathless Path. Yeah, it's been a while. Pathless Path. It's a good tongue twister, Paul. And yeah, so trying to figure out, can I survive on the Pathless Path, and do I enjoy it? And yes, I do. It's great, but there's no sense of where I'm going. Where does it lead? And I think I would like that, not in a kind of forcing my way to get somewhere, or like I'll be happy when I achieve it sense, but a kind of, I want to have a direction, a goal that orients me in that direction, that kind of says, okay, I'm going that way. And that motivates action, motivates behavior. And it gives me a sense of, am I making progress towards that thing? And I don't really have that right now. I think the last few months of travel have been quite intense. So I went to Mexico in February. It's now end of June. And I've been traveling just a lot, and it's quite tiring. So it doesn't really give you the space to reflect on these things. So a lot of this stuff's been kind of paused for that time. But now things feel like I'm settled enough that the question of vision is re-emerging. So So if you got to the end, I think I will end soon because 10 minutes. Wow. A lot to say. If you're still watching, I'll give you a sneak preview of what I'm thinking about as the vision for what I want to be doing, at least for now. It's a combination of the Alexander Technique stuff with the old energy climate stuff that I left behind. I don't feel comfortable letting go of that stuff because it was really important to me and it still is. And I feel a sense of lack or a sense of wistfulness that I've stepped away from it and now doing awareness stuff. So what I'm thinking about is I would like to find a container or a frame that's big enough to contain a bunch of things, including Alexander Technique and including climate change and that kind of thing. And that's a tall order, but I think it exists. What I think I'd like to do is, okay, step back a little bit, because you know the expression, I think Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same kind of thinking, the same level of thinking that created it. I think that's one of the arguments, one of the solutions to climate change and global challenges is that in order to solve them, we need to up our level of thinking. We need to evolve in some sense. We need to go up the ladder of human development from the one that created it to the one that will solve it. And you can't solve it at the level that created it. So part of the journey of solving these things, part of the story, is helping with human development in various ways. And that's kind of the way Alexander framed his work. One of his books is called Man's Supreme Inheritance. And he talks about, it might not be that book actually, but he talks about Alexander Technique being a facilitator to the next stage of human evolution, basically. I mean, he didn't know much about evolution, and this was 100 years ago. But still, I kind of agree with him that the tools in Alexander Technique can help people to make new choices, step into unfamiliar spaces, and do things that were previously impossible, navigate in ways and behave in ways that they couldn't before and couldn't even conceptualize before. And there's a lot to talk about in that direction. But something like a container of, okay, we're going to gather people together who are interested in human development and growing personally, using a range of skills, including Alexander Technique and other stuff as well, such that it can be pointed towards and used for these world-shaping global challenges like climate change, energy, food security, water, all these things that we talk about. So basically creating a container that will help nurture people who are more effective at working on those things, basically. That's kind of where I'm going with this. And that gives me freedom to talk about the content level of those things, but also to nerd out about various adjacent things and bring my whole self, if you like, the diversity of my experience, not just, well, I'm an AT teacher, so I'll do AT over here, and I'll do something else over here. And I don't like the granular things. I want to have one overarching thing. And so far, until recently, the one overarching thing has seemed enormous and just unreconcilably different from one another. So this is the beginnings of a frame that I think will really help me moving forwards. And we'll see. Maybe in Bali, a couple of months of quiet, I will be able to create something and conceptualize this more clearly. So I am at 13 and a half minutes. Thank you for watching to the end if you have. This was like an update, and more videos to come. Maybe some here, probably in Bali once I'm set up there in a couple of weeks. So thanks for watching, and until next time.